Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Cerberus.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you expect.
Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bigger on the Inside, the new Who Doctor Who Watch Along podcast. With me, as always, is Harry Murdoch. Hi, Harry.
Hiya.
As today, we will be talking. We're going to do the same as we did with Aliens in London World War III, which is a two-part episode, and we're going to talk about them both in one sitting. We'll split up the sitting, but it'll be one recording. We're going to talk about Series 1, Episode 9, which is called What, Harry?
The Empty Child.
And Series 1, Episode 10, which is called What, Harry?
The Doctor Dances.
Oh, so it is. Both episodes are written by first-time writers to Doctor Who, but will go on to have a long and loved by everybody tenure as showrunner, Stephen Moffat.
Totally undivisive.
Exactly. So, The Empty Child, what are your thoughts, Harry?
Both of these stories, I just have to say, straight out the bat, are really, really good. And as a whole package, I reckon that this might just be my favourite story that Stephen Moffat did for the show, throughout his whole tenure.
What, including showrunner?
Yeah, like they're suspenseful, they're genuinely creepy, there's a lot of levity, they're very fun, they introduce fan favourite Captain Jack Harkness. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going for these stories, and they're remembered very fondly, and personally, I think that's with very good reason.
Yeah, one thing I noticed that I really liked straight off the back was even the cold open, the pre-title sequence of them just chasing the ambulance through the time vortex. Even that was exciting.
Yeah, I know. It's very typical of Moffat that straight off the bat, you're hit with suddenly like this paciness, this like back and forth, just this kind of intensity that, although most of the show is able to, have those very energetic moments, there's a certain quality to the way that Moffat does that very kind of pacey dialogue that just, there's a rhythm to it that feels very easy to just get caught up in the action of it all.
Yeah, I know, I definitely agree. One thing that I did notice straight from the start is this the first time in this series that we hear the Doctor refer to himself as John Smith?
Is it?
I think it is, yeah. Trying to remember when he says it. He must have introduced...
Is that when he's pretending to be a time agent?
No, it's before that. It's before he meets Jack. It's very early on in The Empty Child, but he gets his psychic paper out and he calls himself Dr. John Smith.
Ah, right.
So
another thing, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first time in this series that they refer to the sonic screwdriver as the sonic screwdriver?
I think it might be sonic screwdriver.
Because
I feel like I know he has obviously used it.
He's used it many times, but I don't remember him like explaining what it is in Rose or anything like that. I feel like this is the first time they properly kind of say what it is.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. I know that from Peter Davison's Doctor, they blew it up. They blew up the sonic. So Colin Baker never had a sonic screwdriver. Sylvester McCoy never had a sonic screwdriver until the TV movie where he briefly uses it, but he was holding it the wrong way round, so they had to blare the top of the sonic out so people wouldn't notice he was holding it the wrong way round. So, I think this is the first time we hear him say sonic screwdriver.
Yeah. I have to ask, having a tangent, what are your thoughts on the sonic screwdriver? Because I know, some people prefer him not to have the sonic screwdriver because they feel like certain writers can potentially kind of use it as kind of a quick fix to anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's quite an iconic part of the show, and when used correctly, it can be really interesting what it can be used for. So what are your thoughts on this sonic screwdriver?
I like it. I've never had a problem with it. I think it completely depends on how it's being used. If it is just being, I've just listened to Confidential in which Russell said the sonic screwdriver is great because you don't want the Doctor to be. You want the Doctor to be stopped by monsters, aliens, time, big swinging fans, but you don't want him to be stuck by a door. So the fact that he can uses it to just unlock a door and walk through is fine. But he then did say that the sonic screwdriver is good as long as you don't use it to save the episode.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed that kind of in this episode because obviously, I mean, it's more in the Doctor Dances where the screwdriver is directly contrasted with the much more kind of, avert sonic blaster that Captain Jack uses, which is that while Jack manages to use his blaster a couple of times, and attention is drawn to it, like throughout the duration of the story, the screwdriver is used a lot more, and it's really, on the whole, much more useful in all these little ways.
Yeah, I noticed at the very start of this episode, the sonic screwdriver is used on wood.
Oh yeah,
He unlocks a wooden door with it.
I mean, it's not until Series 5 that it's said that it doesn't work on wood.
I thought, does Tennant not say it works on wood?
I remember in Series 5, I think it's the episode Cold War where Matt Smith's Doctor says it doesn't work on wood. And funnily enough, I think that was an addition by Chris Chibnall.
Isn't Cold War is that a Clara episode?
No, it's Series 5. It's an Amy episode.
What's Cold War?
The first one with the what's the name of the lizard-like monsters?
The Silurians.
With the lizard faces. Yeah, it was the first appearance of the Silurians in New Who.
No, you might be right, actually. Yeah, I do remember them mentioning it in that episode. But I do feel like Tennant.
Yeah, because there's the church door.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, I quite like it as an addition later on in the canon. That kind of, you have this kind of brilliant piece of technology that can deal with all these high-tech things, but it's kind of almost too high-tech to the extent that it can't deal with something as simple as a wooden door. I quite like that.
No, I agree. You touched on it, that is quite funny. This episode, even though it's quite scary and creepy, there are some funny moments in it. There is a heck of a lot of Star Trek references in this.
Yeah, doesn't Rose kind of... He says that the Doctor isn't very Spock.
Yeah, he isn't very Spock. And then even when, I think when she meets Jack, she's like, give me Star Trek, this is very Star Trek. I wonder if a 19-year-old in 2005 would have known what Star Trek is, or would have known who Mr. Spock was.
Was the Next Generation out?
I don't know, but Mr. Spock wasn't in... Mr. Spock was not in the... And was 19-year-old girls watching Star Trek?
I mean, I guess that... I feel like Spock... Because me as a kid growing up... I mean, obviously I've had stuff like the J.J. Abrams films in 2009, although I only saw one of them. I feel like Spock and Captain Kirk have kind of become pop culture icons in their own right beyond Star Trek. But then I'm saying that growing up in the age of the internet where you can find out anything super easily. So.
I feel Spock's a more pop culture character than Captain Kirk. I listened to I was listening to David Tennant does a podcast with, and it was I think I butchered his name the other day when we spoke on this. Is it George Takei? George Takei?
George Takei.
Takei, yeah. And they were talking on there. Yeah. They were talking about Shatner on there, and they said that Shatner and Nimoy would sit together, and they would go through their fan mail, and the amount of fan mail that Nimoy would have compared to Shatner was it was almost a very macho measuring competition, and apparently I think he phrased it as it was the world versus Shatner.
I mean, I guess Spock kind of has that kind of same appeal as the Doctor, that is this super smart, a bit disconnected from humanity character. Yeah. Obviously, the Doctor isn't quite extreme. He has a much more of a humbleness. He's much more down to earth compared to Spock, because I suppose that both characters kind of have a similar appeal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, because the Doctor obviously has more emotions, which is shown when he goes into the bar and the lady's singing and he's just enjoying being there. But I couldn't quite grasp it if he's excited just because someone's singing a nice song, because he doesn't realize what time zone he's in until he looks at the post wall and sees a poster for Hitler. Well, not a poster for Hitler, a poster against Hitler.
Yeah, it's like the Hitler's watching you, is it, on the poster?
Yeah, that's what it says. Something like that, isn't it? So why is he so excited? Is he just enjoying that woman singing?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, the Doctor strikes me as the kind of person who does like enjoy music, although like he doesn't dance much. He strikes me as the kind of guy, he enjoys a good song. He enjoys.
We know he likes
bopping his
Britney
head
Spears.
Yeah. Well, he likes Tainted Love, definitely.
Tainted Love. No, I definitely. That's strange that that maybe something not a lot of people have picked up on is that this Doctor does actually really enjoy music.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
had some experience dancing, as he does mention.
I mean, obviously, Peter Capaldi's Doctor down the line. He gets an electric guitar, goes through that whole phase. I mean, I wonder. I imagine. Yeah, and then of course Patrick Troughton played the flute, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Doctor's always just had an element of being quite musical, I guess.
That's true. Yeah. I'm just looking at my notes, seeing what's best to go to next. We'll go straight to the gas mask kid. Do you think he's actually scary?
Do you think he's actually what?
Scary, the little gas mask kid, the empty child.
As a kid, I remember finding him terrifying.
Really?
There was never an episode I saw on. Yeah, it was never an episode I saw on repeat, and I thought he was really freaky. Like this little, basically faceless kid walking around asking for his mummy in that kind of foreboding drone. Yeah. I mean, the thing that's really freaky, the thing that I think like would have literally had like kids screaming and hiding behind SATs was the transformation. Like when the Doctor, like it comes out of his mouth and out of his eyes. That is like those are actually really good special effects, even for this day, and they hold up and they just like make you go, ugh.
No, I did. I wrote that. I wrote the transformation for Richard Wilson, who's the actor who plays the Doctor in the hospital. That is scary. The way he just suddenly changes and he's going, "Are you my mummy?" But he's doing it in such a creepy, strange way. We can briefly touch on the Doctor dances when Nancy gets locked up.
Yeah.
And she is next to the soldier who is about to turn into a gas mask dummy. I felt that was more scary because I just felt the performance was more creepy. You don't actually see the transformation. The way he was saying it as if it he was like trying to hold back like this thing from coming up of his throat and out of his mouth. It's so genuinely really disturbing. Why haven't they brought that back?
The empty child.
It's too iconic. Is it too?
I don't know. It's interesting because Moffat has not hesitated to bring back the Angels. I mean, I guess it's because within the context of this story, the only reason I say this with air quotes, monster exists is because of some faulty nanogenes. Yeah. And by the end of the episode, they're fixed. So I guess
they're not like a race, are they?
No, it would take a coincidentally similar situation to occur for a similar monster, again in air quotes, to appear.
Do you reckon Big Finish have done it?
I mean, if you look into it, they'll probably have found a
way. One thing that I did pick on is when Rosie's climbing up that rope. Did she not bother looking up to see what the rope was attached to?
I guess. I mean, Rose kind of says, the Doctor kind of says that like she has a record for getting herself like into perilous situations.
Yeah, he did say that. I think we touched on that last week as well, in the last episode where we said Rose is a really good companion and she doesn't get stuff wrong, but when she does get stuff wrong, she really, really gets stuff wrong.
Oh, do you think that Stephen Moffat watched our podcast before he wrote The Empty Child?
I think he did.
No, I mean, I guess the only reasoning I can think is that Rose is just like a very impulsive and more and emotive character where if she wants to help someone, she is determined. She just makes a beeline for it.
Yeah, it was a nice thing
Yeah.
to see that they in episode 1 we mentioned that. I said, why on earth did they include the line about her being good at gymnastics? And now we know, so she could hold onto that rope over the skies of London for so long.
God knows how long. Yeah.
Is Rose sorry, go on.
Because she will have needed to hold on to that rope for long enough for her to float so far into London, and she would have clung on as bomber planes flew past her, and for long enough for Captain Jack to both see her, get to his ship, and pick her up in the tractor beam.
She's got some good arm strength, upper arm strength.
Oh, yeah.
We touched on him there. We can get into it. Captain Jack Harkness, how good is it to see him?
He just, obviously on every journey, adventure that the Doctor and their companion goes on, they always meet kind of someone, say, be it like Charles Dickens or
Adam,
a tree person, who kind of becomes a temporary companion. And
none of them will ever be as good as Adam Mitchell.
no, well, obviously not, but that goes without saying. And while John Barrowman as Captain Jack is not an Adam Mitchell, and we have to put that aside, he'll always be a second to Adam Mitchell. But that aside, he just, and even amongst those kind of temporary companions, he just stands out so much. Like, he's so just effortlessly charismatic and charming and memorable. Like, you understand why, Rose is wooed by him so easily.
Does Rose go around just to pick up dudes? That's all she's done for the last few episodes.
I mean, I don't imagine that's the reason.
Captain Jack,
along, but
Adam, who was before Adam? I feel, what was that? Was there someone before Adam? Her dad fancies her for a little bit.
Oh, don't go there. Don't go there.
But this was a point in the episode where I thought, what about Mickey? And they mentioned Mickey because her thought is, I have a boyfriend back home, but nothing serious.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I guess that Mickey for Rose is something that just she associates with as part of her old life, part of her safe life in London. And I guess she's just been so caught up in traveling with the Doctor that she's very willing to just put that behind her, Mickey and all.
No, definitely, yeah. This is I think it is the only time where we see Jack and he has a spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of that? Obviously, it's immensely phallic shaped. It looks like a big penis in the sky.
You think so?
Yeah, well, I watched The Confidential and they went through a number of designs and Stephen Moffat just went, it needs to look like a penis.
Did he actually say
We
that?
didn't say that, but that's what that was what he implied. I think he might have said a more PG version, but the thing was that Captain Jack oozes sex. He is the sexiest man alive. So of course his
spaceship.
spaceship.
I guess that it's kind of that contrast of how the Doctor travels around in this cute little, police box, and Captain Jack, is this suave curvature spaceship.
Yeah, well, I've got a quote here from Moffat about Jack and the Doctor's relationship. He said the subtext of this show is that the Doctor is hopelessly in love with Rose and trying to impress her, and then this younger, better-looking guy with a bigger gun turns up, and he's so angry.
Yeah, I mean, so they kind of do. That's interesting. That's the first confirmation I've heard that the Ninth Doctor is in love with Rose.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. And this is the only episode as well where I've sort of seen it. The scene where I think we may be going into the Doctor dances a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Where she asks him to dance, and I wrote down something he says. What is it he says? She says, "Show me your moves," and he goes, "Rose, I'm trying to resonate concrete."
Yeah.
Like, he clearly wants to, but he's like, I'm a bit unsure about this.
I mean, it's very endearing. And obviously the whole conversation about him dancing and if he's got the moves is very,
You can read
they're
it one of
laying
two
it
ways,
on
can't
pretty
you?
thick.
Yeah. I really like the scene where the Doctor turns up at the meal with all the kids.
Mm.
I thought that was really good because
No,
I haven't seen
yeah,
this
and I
episode in
kind
a
of
while.
love
Sorry,
that.
go on.
So I kind of love that as a concept, and kind of the Doctor kind of says like it himself is a brilliant concept of like, all these street kids just sneaking in during bomb raids to eat food. I wonder if that's based off something real or
Must
if
be.
Moffat thought of it himself. But it is a very like cute concept, and you could almost have a whole little film or story about that by itself, because it, like the Doctor said, he doesn't know if it's Marxism in practice or a West End musical. Probably both.
Yeah. Well, I know that Moffat has said as well. He says, you've come up with a good idea for Doctor Who when you think, well, that's that film script done in 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, in this case, it is 90 minutes. It's basically a feature film.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. I really like that scene, though, because I like the way we don't see him interact with kids in the series until this point. It's all late teenagers and women in their, 30s and 40s.
Is this really? Is this the first time? Is this the first and only time you see the Ninth Doctor interact with kids?
I think it might be, yeah.
I
think Boomtown we don't see any. Definitely don't see any in the last two episodes. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's interesting. I haven't thought, because to me, I think it's kind of very important that an institution as popular as Doctor Who should kind of be very wary of its large audience of children, and the Doctor as a character should be kind of a role model for children, and kind of so I do find it interesting that within this series of the show he only interacts with kids that one time.
No, yeah, I know. It's about Unconfidential. Eccleston said it's good to have the kids in because it sort of reminds everybody who they're making the show for.
Yeah.
So it was, even though it's only the one time, it's obviously something that maybe Eccleston feels that there should have been more of. It's also in that same scene that we realize. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, you finish your point.
I was going to say, it's also in the same scene that we realise the Doctor cannot draw, because he draws a horrible drawing of the spaceship he's looking for. He literally just draws a cylinder with some scribbles on it and goes, has anyone seen this?
But the thing is, the way that Nancy reacts, she knows what it is.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, blimey. I recognise that round thing with lines through it.
I recognise that can of beans you've just drawn.
Yeah. Perhaps in Moffat's mind, he imagined the Doctor being a bit of a better artist.
And what, they just let Chris improv on the day? They're like, here you go, Chris, here's your pen,
Maybe,
here's your
I don't
paper.
know.
Draw that thing that you haven't seen yet because the VFX shots aren't ready, but draw something that could look like it could be in the show. Off you go, and action.
Exactly.
Yeah. The bit where Nancy tells the Doctor to go and see the Doctor, I wonder if audiences because I believe there is another mention in this series. I think we've gone past it, where there is someone tells the Doctor to go and see the Doctor, or a mysterious man who isn't named. I wonder if at any point watching this first series, people thought this was going to be a multi-Doctor episode.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, Moffat does strike me as the type who wouldn't be afraid to kind of dangle keys like that.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Go and see.
I mean,
the
who knows?
Doctor.
Maybe all along Moffat was on the mission to one day be showrunner. So
I hope he gets that job. That'd be nice for him.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are episodes that I like more than this, but this episode kind of really is and his story really is kind of like quintessential Doctor Who, what the show should be.
Well, these two episodes are Eccleston's favourite episodes of his Doctor.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Do you have any insight into why he?
I think he really liked Moffat's. I think we might touch on this before, but it doesn't matter. He really liked Moffat's writing. He said Russell really understood Rose and the character of Rose, and what Rose was about was really clear, but he didn't feel that the Doctor got the same amount of backstory and presence in the series, or the same drive from the writer as Rose. You sort of felt the Doctor
Yeah,
was maybe
yeah.
taken, even though the Doctor in some ways is the second character in the series. But that said,
Yeah.
as an actor, I imagine you want the story. But when he read this and he worked with Stephen, he said it was really clear what Stephen wanted from him.
Absolutely.
So he
I
feels
think
like he
that
was
kind
able
of
to
is,
give like his best performance throughout these 2 episodes.
yeah. And I think that kind of is somewhat reflective of kind of both, contrasting Moffat and Davis's writers. I think
Yeah.
while this isn't rule the whole time, generally thinking back to both of their tenures, Davis always did seem a bit more interested in the companions than the Doctor, and
Yeah.
Moffat always seemed a bit more interested in the Doctor than the companions.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. There's some great dialogue in in these 2 episodes, though, right? I really like the line where Richard Wilson says, "It just says, don't touch the flesh," and that in itself is pretty creepy to say, "Don't touch their flesh."
Absolutely.
The
And
Doctor gets a few good
I
lines.
did
as well.
notice they also managed to work in for the first time the phrase Doctor Who in conversation.
Yes, I noticed that as well. I wasn't sure if it was the first time, but it is, isn't it?
Yeah, this is. And to be honest, as far as working in the phrase Doctor Who, very often they work it in a way that can kind of feel a little bit cheesy, a bit. I see what we did there.
Like
They might,
Clara.
yeah, and
Well,
all, yeah.
I remember.
But with
Sorry,
this,
go on.
I feel like in this instance, the way they worked into conversation kind of made sense. Like Rose just having a bit of a go at the Doctor for not having a name and always going by Doctor. Like Doctor Who, it was a moment of frustration. It wasn't, it wasn't some kind of big revelation or big question or anything. It was just kind of this one frustrating moment from Rose, and it kind of worked.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I know it gets used a lot with when Moffat actually does take over. I think in Series 7, I remember like sitting up after like 4 episodes and going, someone has said this every episode for the last series now.
I know, of course, was it Series 6 where there's that whole thing with the question?
Oh, yeah. And
The question is
Doctor Who, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Matt Smith's whole arc centers around
The title of the show.
Doctor Who as a phrase.
Yeah. I realised that also watching this, Harry, I think I owe you an apology for the very first episode we did.
You do?
In that first episode, we talked about the Doctor's costume, and you said, "Is his coat based on a World War II?" Like World War II coat that people wore. And I think you said submarine or German commander, and I said, "Oh no, it's just a leather jacket." In this episode, we find out that the leather jacket he's wearing is actually a U-boat captain's jacket. So you were right, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was historical, but I just kind of took your word for it because you generally are the one who knows more behind the scenes stuff.
So when Jack says you two couldn't be wearing a more inappropriate outfit, he's right. One of us wearing a Union Jack t-shirt, and everyone's dressed up as a German.
Yeah, I know they made quite a big point about the fact Rose was wearing a Union Jack t-shirt.
Yeah, they did quite a bit, didn't they? I was like, how many people are really going to notice that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because they made the whole thing of it being out of place and her like sticking out in a bomb raid wearing a Union Jack, but you never actually see anyone from the World War II era like draw attention to it and being like, "That's a bit of a funny shirt you got on."
Yeah. Oh, why is he dressed up as a Nazi?
Oh yeah.
What do you think to the VFX shots throughout these 2 episodes then?
I mean, I'm gonna take a guess and say that this was the story that got the biggest budget.
Yeah, I think it
because
might be. Oh well, no, the biggest budget was
at
episode 2. That was the one with the biggest budget.
Oh, was it?
But
I feel like these
the end of the
stories
world
together probably had a collectively maybe it's
Yeah.
like it felt like a more expensive episode.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah, because in addition to kind of these big kind of CG shots of World War II London and bombers flying by and stuff, there was also like a lot of different locations.
No, definitely, yeah. There's indoor houses, indoor shed. There's the
There's the
TARDIS,
crash
there's Jack,
site.
there's Jack's ship, there's the outside of Jack's ship, there's Big Ben, there's the skies of London at night.
I mean,
There's
I
a
think
lot
Big
going
Ben
on.
was Big Ben CG or was that a model?
I'm not
something.
100% sure, but all I do know is that up to this point, there was over 1,300 visual effects shots for the whole series.
Oh.
I'm not sure what it would be now. I imagine it would be higher. I would imagine in some shows, like maybe like your big Game of Thrones and stuff like that, they would have 1,300 VFX shots in one episode.
Oh yeah, like Game of Thrones like episodes have like the same budget as blockbuster movies.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah, so do you want to move on to the Doctor Dances?
Yeah.
Cool. So the Doctor Dances. I know. No, I'm gonna stop us right there, because as always, it's tradition now. It's time for the quiz.
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Oh, we're having a quiz.
We're having a quiz again. I'm going to quiz you 3 questions all about the Empty Child episode. Are you ready?
How many will I get wrong? Let's go.
What colour is universally recognised as the colour of danger?
Red.
No, mauve.
Really?
Yeah, the start of the episode where before the opening credits, Rose says, "Where are we going now?" And the Doctor goes, "It's mauve," and she goes, "What's mauve?" And he goes, "It's a universal colour of red, of danger." And she goes, "What about red?" And he goes, "No, that's only humans." I can't believe you missed that one.
Oh, GCSE English lied to me.
What is the name of the man who is annoyed by the air raid siren in the middle of the night?
The name of the man?
Yeah, it's also the house where Nancy steals the food from. You know, you see them at the start of the episode with the Doctor looking over the wall.
I want to say Harold.
Oh, it's Arthur. Oh, see if you can get this one right. What actually was the ship that Jack tried to sell the Doctor? What was that ship actually?
It was a war ambulance.
Yay! You got 1 out of 3.
Yeah, I got the one that was a plot point right.
So let's do the Doctor Dances. The episode starts.
I mean, I feel like I need to defend myself for that, which is that the first half of that episode I watched in bed and then fell asleep, and then I finished it the next day. So, you know, if my memory's a little hazy, I was basically snoozing through that first half.
Maybe
it's okay, I can still talk about it. I watched it before.
Maybe you should take podcasting more seriously. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, the Doctor Dances.
The Doctor Who watched on podcast, we watch it half asleep. Yeah, that's our hook. That's the thing we bring to it, but no one else does. No one else watches Doctor Who as they're dozing off and only remembers patches.
The Doctor Dances opens with the classic line of "Go to your room." I completely forgot about that. It's quite weird seeing the Doctor say that.
It's kind of a funny solution, and it's kind of not something they ever kind of bring back in the episode, but it works. It works, and I like his reaction to actually working, which is, God, I'm glad that works. That have been terrible last words.
Yeah, I was at that point that I sort of realised, I really get why Christopher Eccleston has really liked these episodes, because they are fun episodes.
Yeah, well, no, he is having so much. I mean, I don't know if it's just his great acting, but feels like he's having so much fun on set, especially during the Doctor dances.
No, definitely. One thing that I picked up on that it stood out to me quite a lot was set your alarm for Volcano Day. Now,
oh yeah, the Pompeii references.
Yeah, because he mentions Pompeii, and then isn't the start of the Fires of Pompeii episode? The Doctor says, "And it's Volcano Day," doesn't he?
He might do, yeah. I imagine that's a deliberate callback.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. I'm glad I did the quiz when I did, otherwise I would have given the answer away here. The character of Arthur, is he gay?
No. I think the suggestion when Nancy said this, I think the suggestion was that he was doing some kind of criminal activity with which was why he had the wire cutters and such.
Well, the only reason I ask is because she says everyone thinks your missus must have been messing around with the shopkeeper, but in fact you're the one who's been messing around with the shopkeeper.
I don't think she says he's been messing around with the shopkeeper, just that he's been messing around.
Well,
I think.
I'm gonna find it. I disagree with you. We're gonna do some.
The way I remember
research.
it is that
This
she
is it. The
just says
first
he's
tiff.
messing around.
This is the first fight we've had.
Oh.
10 episodes in is our first disagreement.
I mean, if you don't count the jacket.
Oh yeah, well, that was a disagreement because it didn't know I was wrong. Where
And now
is
you're
it?
going to be wrong again.
I'm not gonna be wrong. Where is it? I'm scanning through the episode. Here it is. 1 second. You just talk and keep them busy, Harry, while I listen to this.
That weather we're having, sure is nice, right, you guys?
Here we go. She says,
Oh, brilliant.
She says, "Oh, and the torch. Don't look like that, Mr. Lloyd." Hang on, I'm reading the subtitles. "I know you got plenty of tours in here. I've been watching this house for ages." What's she say next? And I'd like another look around your kitchen cupboards. I was in a hurry the first time. I want to see if I missed anything. The food on this table is an awful lot of food, isn't it, Mr. Lloyd? A lot more than on anyone else's table. Half the street thinks your missus must be messing about with Mr. Havstoke, the butcher. What's the next line? But she's not, is she? Oh, here we go. You are. Oh, so what does that mean?
I think it's the...
And then he stands up and wipes the sweat from his own brow. So I'm saying it.
I read it that
gay.
he's doing something criminal to get more money.
Nah, he's gay.
Is he?
He is now. I've said
But
so.
how would
Not
that
that there's
end up
anything
with
wrong
him
with being
having-
gay, but this is.
How would I end up with him having more money to put food on the table?
Well, maybe I have wrong, but I imagine that he was doing favours for the butcher that only another man would want another man to do, and that therefore he was giving him more money. They were both two closet gays, and in 1950s? This is set 1940s.
40s.
In the 1940s, being gay wasn't maybe the most.
Well, either the 40s or the late 30s.
Wasn't the
but
most,
either way.
Yeah, it wasn't the
looked
most accepted thing. So I maybe imagine that by coming out to each other, he
I
was.
think that's weird though, because it'd be weird for them, like in 2005, to present the character of Arthur as a kind of as an antagonistic character, as an obstacle, and in a negative light. If I'm not convinced. I
Okay,
feel
well,
like
we'll
there's
skip over Arthur. And what about Jack? Because now, in the show now, Jack is a gay character, or at least bisexual.
He's bi. I think he's bi.
There's not really...
At least. Well, probably more than bi. I imagine that he'd be classed as pansexual because it's been heavily implied that, you know, he's off all over with all kinds of different... I don't know if there's... I imagine in the far future when we make contact with aliens, they'll have a phrase for people who are into other alien races.
Yeah, you're right there. I was going to say we don't actually see any other sexual callings from Jack apart from Rose, but you're right. It is mentioned that he goes off with aliens. But we don't see him attracted to other men in this episode, I don't think. He smacks that other guy on the bum, but I think that's just banter, innit?
I don't know. I think he could... I don't know. He doesn't he tap that guy's bum?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah, but doesn't he just do that like as a thing?
I don't know. I think he might be into... I don't know.
That said, there is clearly a
Jack-
match... Oh, sorry, go on.
Jack's kind of presented as a character who, you know, if the opportunity arises, he's not going to shy away.
That's very true, that's true. That said, there is very clearly a big macho match between the Doctor and Jack, isn't there, when it comes to the sonic screwdrivers and the sonic blaster.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, kind of even just comparing the size of their two sonic devices.
Yes, that's something that's done again in the Day of the Doctor, isn't it? When 10 meets 11.
Yeah, Moffat's a fan of that one. My
Oh,
sonic device is bigger than
your
yours.
sonic device. I'm just yeah. So we already touched on the fact that the guy turning into the gas mask dummy is in this episode is more scary than it is when Richard Wilson does it, because it, like you said, it looks like he's gagging. It looks like he's trying not to have that cry. Is this the first time as well we see a reference to the Doctor and fruit?
I think so. Yeah, with the banana groves of what's it called?
I can't remember, but he's like, don't drop the banana. It's a good source of potassium.
Bananas are good.
And doesn't the 10th Doctor have a fruit? I know he has pears, which is a deleted scene
He
from
doesn't
the
like
human.
pears in a deleted scene.
Yeah, and doesn't Matt Smith? He doesn't like pears either, does he?
No, I don't think so. Or no, it was carrot. I know he didn't like carrots.
He doesn't like pears either. Or is it apples? Apples. He doesn't like apples.
It's apples.
That's it. Yeah, from the 11th hour where he
The
spits
Doctor
them out.
likes. So the Doctor does like bananas, and he doesn't like apples or pears.
He's an easygoing guy. Those are really all the notes I've got on the Doctor dances. Do you have anything else to say about them?
I feel like we have to talk about the fact that this is the first episode where everybody lives.
Ah, yes. Do you know what? The end of this episode really caught me off guard. I know we spoke last week to the listeners, it was only yesterday for us, about Father's Day and how the ending of that caught us. But this one, unexpectedly, I was getting quite welled up towards the end of this.
Yeah, it's kind of, especially the part where all the infected people are calling for their mummy, and you can see like Nancy is just kind of breaking down by just kind of the weight of it all and almost the responsibility of it all, and that's a very loaded moment. And then for right afterwards to have such a satisfying conclusion, which is so rare for this show so far, for you to have such an overwhelmingly uplifting finale.
Yeah, I think looking back through most episodes we've talked about from series 1, most of them have ended with me going, did the Doctor kill that person? Do you think they were deliberately set up so that in this episode he could have that moment of joy that everybody lived? Cassandra died. Gwen died when the Gelf killed her.
A lot of politicians died.
A lot of politicians died. Who else has died? There's Adam. Adam dies in the end. Go back to our previous episodes to hear the weird history of Adam Mitchell. You will be disappointed. Who else dies? What's episode? Oh no, yeah, you are right. And then it's Dalek.
A lot of soldiers dying Dalek.
Yeah. And then what do we have after Dalek? The Long Game. A lot of people die in the Long Game.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, and Father's Day, of course. Pete dies.
Yeah.
This is the first episode where everybody lives, and I feel like I do know that with series 2 at least, and I imagine it's the same for all the series, that Russell would kind of order the episode, like decide the order of the episodes after they were all written, or like after the first draft of each one, depending on like what he thought of each one and kind of how they'd flow together. And he always felt, and I think the reason that Moffat's episodes always appear when they do is because they're always so good that he always wanted to save them for later.
Yeah. The last note
so
I've got on this.
Pardon?
No, go on.
I imagine that with it ending the way it did, I imagine it was kind of in a redraft after Moffat knew where it fitted into the story into the series overall. He added in that just this once everybody lives. That's all conjecture, but that's how I imagine it would have happened.
The last note I've got on this, and it's just in big letters at the bottom, I just wrote beautiful. I really thought these 2 episodes were some of the best ones we've seen, especially the ending.
Yeah.
It's
a lovely ending of just the Doctor and Rose just dancing in the TARDIS. Yeah. It's such a lovely image, and it just puts a smile on your face. It's so kind of just wholesome and uplifting and cheery.
Well,
Yeah.
if we
and the
could
fact
go-
that they even get to save Captain Jack's life.
Yeah, if we could go a bit behind the scenes, I might destroy that image slightly of how lovely everything is. Because by this point, it had already been announced that Eccleston would be leaving the series and David Tennant would be taking over the role.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was announced after Dalek or after Long Game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so by this point, audiences already know Eccleston's on his way out at the end of this series and that David Tennant will be taking over.
That really does add a tinge of sadness to it.
It
Because
does,
I imagine,
doesn't
like,
it?
that first half of the series, I imagine there are loads of people who would have really been won over by Eccleston. So to find out that he'd be leaving what feels like so soon must have, yeah.
Well, it is, isn't it? It's
And
only-
especially after an episode that was so good.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's rough.
No, definitely. Cool. So, poor old Eccleston. Well, at least he's coming back for those amazing Adam Mitchell stories we'll be getting from Big Finish. Go on.
Oh, yeah. I have a question about Captain Jack. I don't know if you'll know it behind the scenes. Who created Captain Jack? Did
I think
Moffat
it's
create
Moffat.
him?
Yeah,
or-
I think it's Moffat, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So was it a thing that Moffat created him and then Russell T Davies just liked him so much he put him in the rest of the series?
Yeah, that's a good point, that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea.
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Okay, Harry. So, was you paying more attention to the Dr. Dances than you was to the empty child?
Well, seeing as I wasn't about to fall asleep, let's hope so.
So let's hope you get on this second quiz in one episode. How well did you do out of 3 on this one? What is the empty child's real name? Not the actor's name, the character's real name.
Jamie.
Yes!
Yes! I almost said Jacob.
What century is Jack's blaster from?
52nd?
Oh, 51st.
Oh, that's frustrating.
So close.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Not going to give you a point there. What is Richard Wilson? He plays a doctor, but what is his doctor's surname? He's known as Doctor Someone.
Is it Montgomery?
Constantine.
Ah!
1 out of 3 again, Harry. You were
Oh.
so close with the blaster question. I couldn't believe it. I thought you were
And
gonna
that's
get it.
that one's gonna. Oh,
I thought you
is
were gonna
Jack
get-
from the 52nd century?
No, he's a time agent, isn't he? So I imagine he travelled there with his vortex manipulator.
Ah,
I don't think it's ever
I
said by Jack.
swear I heard the mention of the 52nd century. I must have just misheard. Oh,
No.
oh, dang it!
So all in all,
Dang it.
how would you recommend these on your scale of? We'll do both of them. We'll do the empty child. So on your scale from Why Won't You Just Die to Everybody Lives, where is this coming in?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think this
sorry,
was
sorry. On your scale
fantastic.
of to fantastic, yeah.
These could be fantastic episodes of Doctor Who.
Both of them.
These could be. Yeah, as a package, I'd say so.
Yeah, I don't think you can split them, can you? It's not like the Aliens of London. Like I split those up. I think these two do come together.
Yeah, especially because they're doing such different things. Kind of the first one is much more foreboding and tense and building up everything up, and and then
Yeah.
the second one is the much more pacier in conclusion,
Oh no, definitely, yeah.
and then has that uplifting finale. For me, they have to be enjoyed as a whole.
Oh no, I totally agree. Okay then, so let's move on to recommendations.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
What are you recommending this week, Harry?
Oh, I'm going first.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is a bit more out there. My last 2 recommendations have had ties, quite explicit ties to Doctor Who. This is a show which I watched just this week. It was 8-hour-long episodes, but I binged it all in a day. And it's on Netflix. It's called Giri Haji.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of it, no.
Great, that means I can talk more about it. It is, I believe, a British and Japanese collaboration.
All right.
And so the show, some of it is English actors and filmed in London. Some of it is Japanese actors and filmed in kind of in and around Tokyo. And it's about this Tokyo police detective and the nephew of one of the heads of the Yakuza families, which is kind of the the easiest way to explain it is kind of like a Japanese mafia.
Yeah.
But the nephew of one of the heads of the Yakuza is killed by who is suspected to be the detective's brother. Oh. And to solve the case, he has to go to London to track down his brother. And if he doesn't, a potential kind of war amongst different Yakuza families could break out.
My goodness.
It's incredibly well made. It's incredibly well written. Even with some kind of foreign language shows, because of the subtitles, it's hard to tell how good the actors are. But with this show, you can really tell that all of the cast,
that's great.
American and both British and Japanese are really good. It's surprisingly funny. There are some really moving parts. It looks incredible. Like, there's this one animated sequence in the first episode. There's a sequence in the final episode I won't give away. But it's so good. If it's on Netflix, I'd highly recommend anyone with Netflix to give it a good watch. If you're like me, you'll spend a whole day just binging it. It's brilliant.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So good.
Cool. Well, I'm going to recommend something completely different. I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel called Robbie Knox.
Oh, yeah.
Robbie Knox.
What does he do? I've heard of him.
He's I'm not sure how many subscribers he's got at the moment. He doesn't have a lot. He's got more than us. He's got well into the thousands and thousands, but it's not that much compared to what some other YouTubers have. And basically, I think he's 42, and he just does little fun videos about his life. The reason I've started watching him as a little backstory is I currently moved into a flat in university, and obviously we don't have a garden, and I miss being able to go into the garden and go for walks in the countryside like where I used to live, because I now live in a city. So I've been watching him, and he basically goes into his garden and just does gardening. He'll grow potatoes, grow carrots. He does competitions where you can grow your own potatoes at home and like compare them to his and see who's got the best potato. It sounds boring, but this guy is so entertaining and dry and just so, like, you feel like...
British or American?
He's British. Some of you might know him. He used to co-present or do segments on Soccer AM, the Sky breakfast sports program. He used to work on there. And if that's not your type of scene, that sort of stuff, I would recommend listening to him on the Jack Mate Happy Hour podcast, where he
works with Jack Mate.
Yeah, he does. He has some really interesting stories on there from his days working with TV, taking Vernon Kay out drinking, interacting with Oasis, some of his wedding stories, some really good, funny stories that you just wouldn't believe. They're really great. I definitely recommend just going over and listening to what he's got to say.
He sounds great. I didn't realize we could recommend YouTubers.
Yeah, we can now.
That broadens my horizons for recommendations. I can recommend something that isn't a TV series.
Awesome sauce. We can do that. You can do that next time. So that brings us to the end of episode 9, where we reviewed episode 9 and 10, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. Next time, we will be reviewing what, Harry?
Boomtown by Russell T. Davis.
That's right. So,
you take up?
Yeah. Did you hear it?
Yes, I did. Quite clearly.
I do apologise for I hit it. So tune in next time to listen to that. Not more hiccups, but to talk about Boomtown. So I'll say goodbye, and say bye, Harry.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that one was loud.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official
Bigger on the Inside podcast.